Hi guys, it's Katie. Welcome back to my channel. Today, admittedly, nobody is shocked by this. I thought about this for a long time. So long, in fact, that it's been months since I did my last video talking about the Black Lives Matter movement and talking about racism and anti-racism work and all of that. And the truth is that I tend to be the type of person that I live in the extremes. Balance is very hard for me, and I really wanted this, or I want things to be a certain way. And until they're that way, sometimes I just do nothing. And that is silly. I figured that getting on here and working with the ideas and the kind of guidance and the thoughts that I already have is better than continuing to wait and, for who knows how long. So I just wanted to come on here. It is February right now when I'm filming this, and so it's Black History Month, and it just felt like I said I've been wanting to talk about this topic again. In my last video, which I will link down below, I opened up, I addressed the notion that I'm in full support of the Black Lives Matter movement, and not even just the Black Lives Matter movement, but just the whole idea of educating myself and those around me as much as I can about the discrepancies in this country, the injustices about racism, about how to be anti-racist, etc. And the truth is, the conversation really goes beyond just our Black community. It's for Native people. It is for all BIPOC. I don't know how people say that. The BIPOC. I don't know how, maybe there's several different ways to pronounce it, but there are minorities and there's discrimination against so many communities. And I don't want to not acknowledge that. But this video and this conversation and this month and all of that is really about Black history, Black Lives Matter, all of that kind of stuff. And so I just wanted to get on here and let you all know that the work is far from over and that it's still really important. And I know it might feel, I don't know if overwhelming is the word. It might feel a whole slew of things. And maybe overwhelming is just one word that encompasses it all. For honestly, all people, for all different people, skin colors, everything, it might feel overwhelming. And my hopes in doing this video today was just to update you on some of my findings or some of my thought viewpoints. And if I can encourage you to do even just a few things, if I can help you sift through the many resources and things and ideas and books and this and that out there, then I'm so happy to do that. And so I just want to start this off by saying that educating ourselves and educating those around us is really the bare minimum. It is the start. It is the tipping point of how we can even make a difference about anything, is by knowing about it. And there is so much that I did not know. And there is so much that I still don't know. And there is so much that a lot of people that I know and that I've seen and that I interact with do not know about Black history, the Black experience in this country, the Black experience in this world, so on and so forth. So if you do one thing from this video, please, before you click off, if you do one thing from this video, I implore you, I ask of you to please watch a docu-series. It's presented by Time, like Time Magazine. I believe it is currently on Netflix, and it is the Kalief Browder story. It is, I think, approximately 6 parts, and it is just the story of a young man named Kalief Browder. Please watch that. I have read and listened and watched to several things ever since I committed to learning more and becoming more of an active ally and an active anti-racist. But that docuseries, I swear to you, that changed me as a person. Watching that changed me as a person. It opened my eyes up to so much, And I just really, really ask that you watch that documentary. It's like, I don't want to give it all away. Not that it's about that, not that it's about spoilers or whatever, but it's just a really important, eye-opening, heartbreaking story that I don't see how any human on this planet could not feel some type of way after watching that, could not be moved, could not feel the urge and the desire to just want to change. Like I said, that really changed me. So please, if you do nothing else, please watch that story. If you watch it, if you've seen it, let's talk about it. Criminal justice reform. That is something that this country so desperately needs. And I've thought this for years and years and years. I've thought about that. I've thought about the criminal justice system. And I didn't even know a millimeter, a little speck. I didn't know a fraction of what was happening in the system. And I still don't. But the more that I have learned, that is definitely a hill I'm willing to die on, is that the criminal justice system in this country needs to be reformed. Other things that I would encourage you to listen to or watch or read would be the 1619 Project, which was a podcast presented by the New York Times. I know that there has been some controversy, although what topic and what thing hasn't sparked controversy these days, but I know that there was a little bit of controversy surrounding that and surrounding its validity, which to my knowledge has been debunked or has been, the New York Times is a credible system. It's a credible place. And that is a really, really interesting podcast that just takes you through like the Black experience and Black history. And it talks about different aspects of it, music, the Constitution. I highly recommend that. Another thing that I absolutely recommend is a documentary by Ava. Ooh, my friends, I should totally know all this stuff. It's Ava DuVernay. I'm kicking myself for not having this info right at the tip of my fingertips. I don't want to be disrespectful, but it's called 19th, and it's like about the 19th Amendment, essentially. And that opened my eyes up a lot as well. A book that I'm going to tell you about is How to Be an Anti-Racist by Ibram Kendi, I believe is how you say his name. Now, that was one that I listened to on audiobook. That I want to get a physical hard copy of because it almost reads like it is a textbook. It's very, very fact heavy. I know that I talked about some of this stuff in my last Black Lives Matter video, but I just wanted to once again pinpoint, like, this is what you can watch, this is what you can listen to, this is what you can read. How to Be an Anti-Racist was something that helped to untangle some of the things that have been ingrained into our minds. I want to say that privilege is not a feeling. Privilege is not a feeling. It is a position in society. And so whether or not any of us are Mother Teresa's, meaning we're just like the most sweet, magical, amazing, nice, kind person in the world, or we are scum of the earth, no matter where we fall on the spectrum, we live, if you're born and raised in America, we were born and raised in a racist society. Point blank. We were born and raised in a society that has discrepancies, that has unfair treatment, that has layers of privilege that not everybody has access to. And I think so many people get defensive and it turns into this whole big political conversation, but it's really not, and it really shouldn't be, because I'm going to say it again. Privilege is not a feeling. It's not about feeling entitled but I don't feel like I'm racist. I don't feel like I do that. I love everyone and I have Black friends and la, 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 la. That's not the point. It is a position in society. I am half Hispanic. I don't know if you could tell. I'm half white and I'm half Hispanic. But the point is, what do I look? Pretty white. I can pass for being white. And because of that, it doesn't matter how sweet my mom is, and she is. It doesn't matter how raised in the Catholic Church I was, and I was. It doesn't matter, any of that, I still have a certain level of privilege that I was simply born with because of the way that our society is. And I think it's really important that people become aware of that, because once you're aware of that, it just changes your outlook on things. And so in his book, he talks just a lot about, he helps really explain how that all works. And every single chapter is broken down into categories, and he talks about what a racist neighborhood would look like and what an anti-racist neighborhood would look like, or racist coloring, like talking about color versus anti-racist color. And like, it's very, very interesting. Again, I know I mentioned some of this in my other video. So let's see. There's some quotes that I've written down. This one was from a podcast. It was called Tag Me, and it was featuring Cami Crawford. Again, I feel like I should have triple checked my facts. I apologize. I'm no journalist and I'm no professional YouTuber, but these are just like the notes and the things that I've had. So Tag Me podcast with Cami Crawford. And there was a conversation on there surrounding this topic. And one quote that I wrote down was talking about how it is not a Black person's job to educate their white friends or any of that, which is very true and something that I've heard and something that I believe in, but not to say but. And an interesting perspective on that Cami offered on this podcast was, it is not Black people's job. This is true. But if they feel able to, it is very helpful to help friends understand, because they genuinely may not know and may not have anyone else in their circle where they would realize this. I thought that was an interesting quote. That's not something for me as a white person or white identifying or non-Black person. That's not something for me to really decide or for me to have an opinion on, but I did think that that was just an interesting quote worth writing down. This is one that definitely resonated with me, and I think this speaks a lot to some of the performative allyship that happened and that maybe still happens ever since I call it the resurgence of the movement. I don't know if there's a better way to say that. Please, by all means, let me know down below. And what I am referring to is the murder of George Floyd and everything that, because to me, that was really when an already low burning match, flame, whatever, just had gasoline thrown on it. And Ahmaud Arbery, which was actually before George Floyd, but like that was just enhanced, and Breonna Taylor, and the list goes on and the list goes on. And now, you know, here we are, people like myself, where I really, for once, really looked at the situation and learned a lot about the situation. So anyway, this is a quote that I really liked. "You cannot simply choose to be an ally. You must earn it by the Black community." And I really like that. I thought that was really neat, because yeah, you can say like, oh, I'm an ally to this community or to that community or whatever, but like, and that's great that you want to be an ally and that those are your intentions, but it's not for you to decide. It's for the Black community, and you do need to earn that in the sense of so do it. So be the ally. So show up. So speak up when you hear something that's wrong or that doesn't quite feel right, and it doesn't have to be so combative. Sometimes it is just as simple as, hey, can I challenge that perspective? Or hey, maybe you could use a different word, or whatever it may be. And I know that that's not easy. I know that that doesn't necessarily always sound fun or anything like that, but I think that, again, just goes back to, it's not like, oh, I'm an ally now. It's like, okay, well, you have to actually be an ally and you have to earn that allyship. Another thing that I wanted to let you guys know about, if you didn't already know, is something called the Crown Act. It's this concept where they're trying to get a law passed in all 50 states where a person cannot be discriminated against based on their hair. And it's a law that the not having this law in place has directly affected Black people for a long time. It's where certain hairstyles can be, I'm gonna pin my hair back actually because I'm hot, like considered out of dress code, or can essentially get you in trouble. And it's point blank is just discrimination against certain natural hairstyles and hair types. And so the Crown Act is this movement to spread the word that this law should be passed where that doesn't happen, and hair is something that's protected, and that it's not up for an employer to say, you know, that a certain type of hairstyle or whatever is unfit. Another big takeaway that I got is just the idea that there are a lot of companies who use prison labor, and that's such a simple sentence in and of itself, and you can hear that and think a whole slew of things. And you might even think, oh, well, okay, like, but it's giving them a job to do in prison, da 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 da. But it's really not that simple when you peel back all the layers of what that actually means and how Black and brown communities are disproportionately placed in prison. Please watch the Kalief Browder story. Please watch 19th. When you peel it all back and you actually see like what that actually means, that companies use prison labor, it's not okay. It's akin to slavery, and it's something that people need to know about. And this leads me to my next thing, which, okay, so being an ally, I've said that I think educating yourself and educating those around you is step one. When you know better, do better. I really do believe in that quote. But once you know better, again, you do have to do better. And that can be in a variety of ways. That can be by changing your outlook. That can be by changing your vocabulary. That can be by having the guts and the whatever you want to call it to help educate your friends and family and to stand up when you see something that's not really appropriate, not working, not okay, racist. And another way is putting your money where your mouth is. That is something that I have really been trying to work on. It is easier said than done in certain situations, but what that means is if you don't like or support a certain political figure, and you learn about companies that donate a lot of money to said political figure or political campaign or whatever it may be, and if you have the option and the ability to not then spend your money with that company, do it. And I mean, listen, you do you. I'm not telling you what to do, but that's just my advice and what I mean when I say put your money where your mouth is. If I'm out here wanting to be an ally to the Black community, the BIPOC community, and one way that I've learned through all of my research that I can do that is by supporting Black-owned businesses, by buying things from Black-owned companies, well, then I'm going to do that. It's putting your money where your mouth is. I have just a couple of examples that I brought here for this video to show you. There's just, you know, simple things that you can do. There are so many resources online, on Instagram, for Black-owned candle companies and hair care companies and home decor and like honestly everything. I think there's an Instagram handle called Black-owned everything. I will link this down below, where you can find literally like Black-owned like toilet paper companies, etc. And listen, I understand it can be very challenging to not just pick up your toilet paper Up and Up brand from Target or whatever, and thankfully, so many companies like Target and Ulta Beauty, and I don't want to totally quote it, but I feel like Sephora and Nordstrom I have also seen recently. These are just random ones that I'm spewing out. They have really made an effort and like dedicated themselves to like, nope, we're supporting Black owned. 15% of our shelf space is going to be Black owned. Why, you might ask? Because roughly 15% of the population of the United States is comprised of African Americans, and therefore shouldn't 15% of all of our shelf space for companies that sell all kinds of brands be owned by Black people? Yes, it should. Why? Because that would be equitable. That would be what's right. Sorry, I'm going off on a tangent here, but you know, it's like, it's insane when you look and you see some of the numbers of if there are 15% of the population that's Black, and I don't know all the exact numbers for everything else, but if there's X amount that's this, and there's X amount that's this, and there's X amount that blah, 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 then why is 98% of the shelf space occupied by white people's businesses? Unfortunately, we're moving away from that. And a lot of companies, again, like I was just saying, are standing up and working against that. But that's just one small example of like the way that racism is in our lives and in our world. And so anyway, if you can, hey, guess what? I drink coffee every day, like 3 or 4 times a day. So Target sells this, Black and Bold. It is a Black owned coffee company. Delicious. You can buy whole bean or ground. This is whole bean because I prefer it that way. But you know, it's like, if you can, then do it. If you can put your money where your mouth is, then do it. Here's a Black owned brand from Ulta Beauty. It's a makeup brand. It's Beauty Bakery. This is a blush palette. I'm actually wearing it today. It's very shimmery, very pretty. This is called the Cotton Candy Champagne Palette. Now, those are just 2 random examples. There are so many ways out there to support Black owned businesses, Black owned bookstores, Black owned, like I said, home supply companies, Black owned clothing, jewelry. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. But I think the important thing is that if you're going to, like, if you care and if you want to help make a change and make a difference and support this whole movement and this whole idea of like being anti-racist and working against some of the racist ways that our country has been, then we have to put our money where our mouth is. We have to do this. An analogy that I wrote down, and I forget where I got this one, it was in one of my books or podcasts or something, was the analogy of living in a right-handed person's world. And I want to talk really quickly about, you know, again, when I say that privilege is not a feeling, it's not up to anybody to say like, well, no, I'm not racist and there's no racism in this society and blah, 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 blah. Racism is not about, well, yeah, it's not just about this really obtrusive and outward, and people are saying derogatory names and words and blatantly being racist. If that was the case, then sure, we could think that racism was mostly gone, but there were still those, you know, those people who, for whatever reason, felt a certain way or were taught a certain thing, but that was just what it was. But that's not what racism is about. That's not why our system and our country is racist. It's not because we want to be racist, or it's certainly not because the majority of people, I pray to God, want to be racist. No, it is because we don't know any better. And the system has just been made this way. And it's just been a big, old, perpetual, continuous cycle until you and I and those around us learn about it and work to untangle the system. Untangle the system. You know what I mean? So the right-handed analogy is simply that we live in a society that is designed for right-handed people. Just ask my precious brother. He is left-handed. His wife, also left-handed. My nephew, their son, also left-handed. I think it's kind of funny that all 3 of them are left-handed. Let's talk about their handwriting, shall we? Their handwriting, not very good. Their cutting with scissors, not very good. Their shirt jackets and door handles and light switches, and like, I can't even think of it because I'm a privileged little right-handed girl over here who has lived in this world where it is designed for right-handed people. My brother, my sister-in-law, and all you left-handed people out there probably know that there's a whole slew of things that you are used to now because that's just the way that the world is, but that you live as a minority in this right-handed world, in this right-handed society. And that is akin to our society and our nation and the systems in it, from banking to education to healthcare to, I mean, the list goes on and on and on and on, is that if you are a white person, you are part of the right-handed society where it's all laid out for us and it's all designed for us. And don't get it twisted, like You can be a white person and you can have gone through hell and back. You can have so many obstacles, and you can deal with bad things and grief and all kinds of things. I feel like I'm not saying that right, but the point is, it doesn't mean that all white people live in this like cloud of sunshine and that nothing bad ever happens. It just simply means that on the very basic level, systems in our country do work in our favor. And I say our as a white identifying woman. And so back to this right-handed, left-handed analogy, if you are a Black person in this white world, you're going to have your share of obstacles. It's going to be an uphill kind of battle. And that's just something that you realize more and more when you do take the time to educate yourself and to learn about these things. So I know that I've rambled a lot. And back to what I said at the beginning, I'm sorry that maybe this wasn't as organized as it should have been. And Ava Dorvnay, I'm like kicking myself, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful whatsoever because she's amazing. Yes, I'm not super organized, but I just had to get on here and talk about it. And I'm gonna leave you with some books here that I have not read every single page of every single one of these books, but these are some of the resources that I have been using and have here to continue my work and just keep the conversation going. I think, one big thing is we just have to keep our foot on the gas. I told you my life changed when George Floyd was murdered, and when I actually learned about Emmett Till for the first time and Ruby Bridges for the first time, and the way that Black people got to our country for the first time. I learned about all this stuff at 31 years old. And I am committed to keeping my foot on that gas, keeping the momentum, and continuing to do better, because once you know better, you do better. So these are some books. This one I really like. It's called How to Be Less Stupid About Race. It tackles straight into a lot of the microaggressions that are very common and kind of just integrated into our society. That one's by Crystal M. Fleming. This one is Black Dignity. I'm Still Here, Black Dignity in a World Made for Whiteness by Austin Channing Brown. She's also a great follow on Instagram. This book is Anti-Racist. This one is by Tiffany Jewell, and there's illustrations as well. So it's actually a really kind of cool book that's, visually pleasing. There's also a workbook that you can buy from this same author and stuff to help you write things down. And then this is my newest one. This one is called Uncomfortable Conversations with a Black Man by Emmanuel Acko, I think. I don't know if I'm saying that right. I have watched several of his videos on YouTube, and he's awesome. And oh, there he is. He's also very attractive. So those are some of my resources. The last thing I wanted to mention before I forget anything else, back to my ways that you can put your money where your mouth is and support Black people and lift up their voices and lift up just simply, because it doesn't always have to be about the anti-racism specific piece. By that, what I mean is you can just buy a book written by a Black author that's a total random fiction or fantasy or sci-fi or whatever type of story, but just simply having purchased and supported from that author, who is a Black person, who is only 15% of the population, who lives in the part of the population where it was designed for white people. Do you know what I mean? Every little piece of the puzzle helps. So yes, it's amazing to read all of this about the Black experience and about racism and about how to be anti-racist, but it can also be, as simple as simply, oh, I'm gonna buy this Black and Bold coffee this time around instead of my whatever. You know what I mean? Instead of my Archer Farms brand or whatever else, random Starbucks or Dunkin' or whatever it may be. So on that note, there are some creators and influencers that I love that I want to tell you guys about that I think you should follow. I have several that are on, there's a big, kind of big scale, medium, and small. These are just amazing, awesome Black women that I love watching their YouTube videos and following them on Instagram and all of that. So the first one, she's a bigger creator, and it's Patricia Bright. Oh my gosh, I love Patricia Bright. She is hilarious. She's amazing. She lives in London. She's a YouTuber. She has also done, she was one of the first influencers, I think, to do like the drop collection with Amazon. And I got a couple of her pieces back then. She is so funny and vibrant and goofy, and she's just fun to live vicariously through. I think she's also written a book about finances. Like, she's very smart with the program, like independent type woman, like businesswoman, but she's married with kids, and she's just awesome. I love Patricia Bright. She has great fashion and makeup. She's a little bit like more outside the box than what I would normally wear or do, but she inspires me in that sense. So definitely check out Patricia Bright. Then for my more like mid-ranged size influencers, because Patricia Bright has like over 1 million, I'm pretty sure. These are my gals in the mid-range. My number one gal I want to tell you about from this category, her name is Janae. Her YouTube channel name, and I will link all this below, is Janae Daily. She is a queen. She used to live in New York. Now she lives in LA. She lives with her roommate and like business partner Shelby, and they're just so awesome. Her content is so uplifting. She does a lot of like lifestyle, a lot of home decor, fashion, whatever. She's very lifestyle. She is just awesome. She just seems like the sweetest, kindest, purest soul. She has great recommendations. She seems just like a really good influence and really good person. So I highly recommend Janae. Like, I love her. Mucho, 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 mucho amor. If you know what that is, let me know down below. And then these are two girls who I have only been following for a little bit. I don't know their stuff too well, but they're really cool from what I can see. One is named Andrea Renee. She does a lot of like really fun beauty videos, hauls. She's cool. I've been enjoying watching her. And then Kelsey Brianna J. She is like so glamorous and kind of over the top, but in the best way. Like, I feel like her makeup is always full face, full everything, jewelry, lots of luxury stuff. She loves perfume, and I love perfume, and I think that was what really bonded me to her. But she's just a lot of fun. If you ever just want that like luxury big escape aspect, check her out. And then for my small creator category, I have one to recommend to you, and her name is Amaya Lux. She is awesome. I don't even know how I discovered her. Honestly, she maybe commented on like one of my videos one time, because that's something small creators sometimes do, and then you like follow each other, whatever it may be. But she also lives in England. She is just good people, good energy. She posts a lot about luxury, like bags and perfumes and different luxury items, and kind of talks about if it's worth it or not. She posts videos giving kind of like life advice, sometimes on like love and relationships. She's married. I don't know how old she is. She's definitely at least my age, if not a little older, meaning like she's not just like a Gen Z. Like she knows what's up. She's been around, but she's just like really calming and really sweet and really nice. And I think she just deserves subscribers. And I think these are just, you know, several tiers of like Black creators that you can support. And again, this was rambly as heck, super duper rambly. Oh, and do you like my shirt? It's from Target. I thought it was a good one to wear for this video. But anyway, my friends, let's talk down below. This is so important. Equality is so, so, so important, and it's been so long. It's been way too long. So it's up to us to do better. So, okay, love you. And you know what? Honestly, how dare me not talk about two of my best friends? Sorry, girls. I'm also going to include links to my friends Leah and Brittany's social media, because they are both queens. They both blog. They are amazing Black women, two of my best friends, and you should definitely follow them. So their stuff is down below. Leah is a mom. She does lots of amazing mom content, fashion content. She is like an activist for a lot of things. Brittany is a dog mom, and she is like an amazing chef, fashion, lifestyle, a little bit of everything. Check them out. Sorry, girls, for forgetting you the first time.